No.
So, Pete, do you have a question for Lou?
Favourite thing about prepping this year?
Meeting new people. I really love just meeting all the freshers and making new friends. Really love it.
No.
Hardest thing about prepping this year?
I guess it's sleep. But actually, in a weird way, you kind of get high off the sleep after a while. It's not too bad.
Right, now we can ask individual candidates questions about their manifesto or their campaign, etc. So does anyone have any questions for Sophie? Specifically about Sophie's campaign? Anyone have any specific... Oh,
yeah.
You say that no one's going to slip through the net. Do you have any policies or ideas in mind to how that be enforced?
So a kind of idea that I want to implement on a Frep level is that you kind of have your core team of Freps, which is usually made up of the exec, but I'd like to also include some other people in that. Each of those take responsibility for 3 other Freps, figure out what they want to get out of the week and help them through that, check up how they're doing, check that they're not, suicidal from lack of sleep, that kind of thing. And then the other thing I would ask my Frep team to do, as a pretty serious commitment, is just to have 3 freshers that, as well as their floor, that they would get to know in the week. Just have 3 freshers that they're going to keep an eye on, check up on, like a friend basically, what you would do anyway, but just being really intentional about it to make sure it happens.
Any other specific questions for Sophie? Any specifics for Louis? Willie?
What was the one thing that Chris did during Frep, as a senior Frep, that was bad and you want to change this year?
Don't hold back.
So I think the biggest thing for me is I want my prepping team to be like the best of friends by the end of the week. Because you start with the preps, and then that rubs off on the freshers. And so my way of doing this would be during prep week. I mean, in fact, the prep always gets done. Like, if there's a bit of outstanding prep, someone's like, oh, I've got till Thursday to do it, I'll do it. So I would set aside time for which the preps can actually go away and socialise and do some really weird, fun, ice-breaking activities, so that even before the internationals arrive, we are a really tight unit who are able to work together and overcome any of the challenges which will inevitably come our way.
It's just been brought to my attention, I forgot. It's important as a point of information to know that Sophie is not currently at the university this year, but has made the pledge to be at every event that she needs to physically be at. If anyone has any sort of questions about that, then obviously Sophie is here now to answer anything specific about not being necessarily 100% always around.
So what is it that you're actually doing now then?
So I'm essentially on a personal sabbatical year out, which means I'm at home working in a coffee shop and getting better at playing harp, ready for final year. I think this year is going to make sure I can get the most out of my final year. So from a personal perspective, that's what it's kind of about. But it also means that I'm making coffee and practicing harp, so I have a lot more time on my hands than I would if I was doing a degree. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Any other questions about that? Ellie?
Just because you're out, how do you plan on getting to know the Freps that Frep this year and kind of just getting involved to give you that support system to help you run open days and refreshers?
Well, yeah. So I'll be visiting anyway, regardless of whether I get the position. But I'll be here physically for refreshers, open days, both of them. I'll be here for the interviews for all of those things, in addition to or coinciding that with when I was going to be up here anyway. So, yeah.
If a senior Frep that gets elected has to sit on the exec, and that's they've got a meeting every week. Obviously, I doubt you'll be travelling up every week. How will you remain involved with the exec and understand the function of the exec when you then come back to sit on it up until Christmas, as Chris is doing now?
Yeah. So, in conjunction with steering, we agreed that I agreed to be available on Skype for any meetings that were specifically required for me, and that's kind of my minimum requirement. So ideally, I'd be free to listen in on other exec meetings as well, and then any kind of I've been reading the JCR minutes anyway, even though I don't have to because I'm a bit weird like that. So So yeah, keeping up with what's going on, I think should be okay. Should be okay.
Okay, we're going to open now to questions for both candidates. So you ask a sort of general question, and they both get to answer. Josh.
One thing that you can both bring that's unique to the Freps, to the city of Frep.
My immense drive and determination to make this the best week ever. When I applied to be a Frep, I went away and recorded an entire song answering all the questions, and that's just who I am. When I want something, I want to do something, I will do it 100%. I don't do things by halves.
For me, I think it comes very, very naturally for me to bring people into the fold from the outside and draw people together. And it's harder for me to not be friendly than to be friendly. So I think that just, that influence of everyone's here, everyone's here now, and we're going to make sure you feel that.
Any more general questions? Holly Brown.
So over the past couple of years, kind of the whole week in general has kind of settled into a bit of a routine, and we do various similar things on every single day and single year. What is like one big shake-up or one big change that you would make to the week to kind of revitalise and like give it a bit of fun? Sorry, that's a tough question.
Sophie.
Yeah, I very much agree. I think if you do the same thing on certain days every week, it's going to get stagnant. What I would propose is that we do just go right back to the drawing board, see what ideas the Frep team have, and don't hold anything that we already do dearly. So everything is up to change, everything is up to debate. I would absolutely love to not do the open mic on the first night of freshers, but instead do something completely crazy. Hopefully before people have had anything to drink, go and do like an obstacle course and just get everyone really like fired up, but like getting to work together from the get-go. That would be the dream.
From chatting to a few freshers, I know that one of the things they enjoyed the most was the paint party, and that whole experience of being covered in paint and going down to a club together. They loved that. And so, but then there's the closing ceremony, which in contrast to that, a lot of them found very awkward. Because everyone's really sober, it's a bit weird. And so, my proposal for that would be, you have a paint party on the opening ceremony, and in the closing ceremony, we try and make it even bigger so that we really go out with a bang. So I was thinking a foam party, potentially. You can hide foam cannons, it turns out. So that's one of the things I'd love to do, just so it's not as awkward.
In both your answers, you just made like a subtle reference to alcohol, but how would you involve people in the week that don't drink?
So the week that I have planned out, there are going to be 2 club nights, and that is based off of what many freshers said is that they would enjoy it, because the freshers want to go out. Every year we have freshers being like, can I go out, can I go out? And I think it's better that we actually have a proper set night with walk downs for the freshers rather than just letting them loose on the town in an area they don't know that well. So, what was the question, sorry?
If people don't drink, yes. They're all underage.
So, on those 2 nights where I propose to have a night out, I would ensure that there are equal and just as credible alternatives going on in college, so that it's not a case of, oh, do I go out and drink or do I not go out and drink? It's a case of which activity do I get involved with. So things like the open mics and the pub quizzes, I think, are a great way to do that, because it's just a really informal way to get people to sit down and chat together and meet people in a very genuine way.
Yeah. So this kind of falls under what I talked about in my manifesto about no one slipping through the net. So it doesn't matter if you drink or if you don't, you're treated as an individual and there is something for you. Completely agree with what Louis said about having a credible alternative. I think having Freps that really get to know those people will really help figure out what they actually want to do. Because if it's 5 or 6 people, you have so much flexibility. If they could do whatever they want. So, yeah, that's what I'd say. Get to do it on a personal basis rather than having a formula.
James?
Yeah, for me, so it's pretty cheesy because this is alliteration, but I've kind of identified 3 ways that we can kind of improve as a Frep team. So the anticipation of it, so leading up to it, we're pretty good at the Meet the Frep posts, and we reply to comments, and that's pretty good. But that can go up by like 10 levels. We can be so much better at engaging with people before they arrive, when they're asking questions before they come to open days, that kind of thing. Then there's the actual ambience during open days and Freshers Week, where the relationships are so important. And if you're a floor rep, then you've got to be committed to those people. You can't just like be a floor rep and go back to your normal Frep duties. That's not really how it works. And same, the afterglow of Freshers Week. There's 3 A's and it's really cheesy. So how things like progress from there. So those relationships that you build on, I would be brutal with my preps and telling them to commit to those friends. Like, they can choose who they are, obviously, but making sure that when they say they're going to check on how someone's doing, that they're serious about it, and that they're not just someone who goes, oh yeah, they were my floor rep, but I don't really talk to them anymore, because they were there at a pretty major part of your university experience. So making that obligation clear and equipping preps to be able to do that in an effective way.
Similar to what Sophie said, but I would just make it clear to anyone who's applying to be a prep in the first place that this isn't a commitment up until the end of Freshers Week. This is a commitment forever, because you're getting to know these people as friends. My floor, I feel like I'm really close with. Went out to Future Express together, we had a great time, and it's just the floors are great, and I just want all the Freps to be aware that if they're going to sign up to be a Frep, then they are signing up to have a relationship with their floor. Platonically, sorry. We have rules for that. And so you're signing up to be friends with your floor, and that is an ongoing commitment which you have to adhere to. And I would do regular checkups on that, because these are the sort of things which you have to kind of police, because otherwise they don't happen. And forcible socialising is exactly kind of what Freshers is. You're chucking people into this space and saying socialise, and so I don't think there's any problem with that. And when you do that, people really get to know each other and make friendships.
Right, so the final few questions are going to come from our current senior Frep for the next 3 days. Chrissy?
Cool. Yeah, I remember my first senior Frep hunt. I was very enthusiastic like you guys, and I'm actually quite annoyed at myself at how during the week, after the 3rd day, I went very tired and less enthusiastic, and it wasn't very good for the Frep team. Where would you guys draw energy from in such a down time for yourself? Because it is fun, but trust me, it's a ball ache as well.
I don't know where I draw my energy from, I just find it. I mean, during the Freshers Week, everyone's always tired. All the Freps are tired, and obviously the senior Frep is even more tired than most. But I'm a bundle of enthusiasm all the time, I'm always smiling, and if I got to the point where I was like, okay, you know what, I'm actually really tired, I need to sleep, I would sleep. If it was the case that I'm actually really tired but I need to do stuff, I would kind of switch to kind of professional mode. You're the senior Frep, you're the face of Freshers Week. If the Freshers and the Freps see you on a down, it's going to bring the whole mood down for everyone. So I would just always make sure that I am the happy smiley guy that most people know me for. And we've got a great welfare team, and I was lucky enough to be a part of that, and I know how great they are, and I know that they would be there for me if it was the case that I was really flagging. So I wouldn't see it as an issue at all.
So I'm actually going to completely contradict you. Well, not completely. I'm going to contradict you quite a lot there. I think there is a real danger in it becoming a competition of who can stay awake the longest, who is, grinding themselves to the bone but not complaining or not making anyone aware of it. I think that if you're incredibly tired, then yes, you might be slightly high and not very lucid, but you can still get the job done. But you're going to get so much more out of the week if you know what you're doing, if you have your brain switched on, if you're at a level where you can make genuine relationships and not just facilitate fun. And I think one of those you can do when you're completely sleep deprived, and one of those you can't really do when you're completely sleep deprived. I think it's really important that the Freps do get downtime, and that is scheduled into their day. I also think it's important that it's scheduled into their day that they don't have a job, but they're going and making relationships with freshers. I think that's really important, and that's kind of a level of downtime. Me personally, keeping going, again, like, that's almost just as much leading example as it is to keep a happy, smiling face on, is to be disciplined about knowing your limits, going beyond them, but not killing yourself. I think that's really important. I think where I get the energy from this is that I really, really flipping care about it. I think it's one of the most important weeks that you can have. Like in college, like we set the tone for the rest of the year, and for those people for the next 3 years, it's a pretty big deal. And you can kind of do just about anything for a week. I found you can get through it.
55 Freps is a lot of Freps, 450 freshers is a lot of freshers. Talk to me about your leadership skills.
So I've had a very similar role to senior Frep in a very different context. I was program director at a youth camp of about 450 people. So that was 2 summers. I came up with all the themed activities. I delegated it to the task force, and then I was the person leading it from the front, saying, "This is the activity, we're going to go do it." So I've done all those kind of tick box things of a freshers rep before. So it's not like I'm figuring out how you actually do that. I think relationships are so important. So kind of like what I said to Billy about the levels of people being responsible for other people and really having other people's back during the week. I think that is the way to do it, and that equips. So that just means I don't come out of Freshers Week as a great leader and everyone else is just kind of where they were before. I want all of the Freps to come out of Freshers Week, out of that experience, being equipped so that they can take on the next big role in college and do it really, really well.
So at secondary school, I led a team of 20 students in organising a week of charity events for the entire school, so a student body of 1,000 people. This involved 6 months of preparation, and we designed and created every single event. We had break time, lunchtime and after school events, and we had launch nights, we had quiz nights, we had a lot of different nights, and I led the team of students. I had to inspire them because we were having long hours, not as long as prepping, but you would do a whole school day and then be up until 1 AM clearing up the dining hall and things like that, just as we do for Freshers Week. And so I led this team of students, and we managed to raise £17,500 for charity. It's something I'm really proud of, and I really feel like those are transferable skills which I could bring to my time as senior prep.
Right, we're going to draw it to a close there. Thank you very much, both of you.